Yo, what's up guys, it's your boy, it's back again with a banger. And today's video will be about Marxism, when it was developed, how it was developed, and the different approaches of Marxism over time. We can trace the start of theory with the end of the Cold War in Europe. The Marxist theory starts to become more prominent as the Communist Revolution started to die out. Communism still stayed prominent in countries such as China, Vietnam, and Cuba, though.
Despite all the negative stigma it has endured through society, the Marxist theories refuse to go away. In recent years, there has been a renaissance.
Marxists believed that the communist experiment in the Soviet Union to be an embarrassment to their field of thought. As soon as the Union broke apart, the stigma ceased to exist, and theorists were essentially provided a clean slate.
In theory, Marxism retains a great significance in the world. Marxism, in one of its most paramount ideologies, includes a painstaking analysis of capitalism as a mode of production, but not as a way of life.
Criticism against capitalism has acquired greater relevance due to recent events, such as the stock market crash in 1987, the Asian financial crisis of the late 1990s, and the credit crunch of 2008 and 2009.
Marxism also places a deeper emphasis on the hidden truth of familiar events of the world politics. The theory provides an unfamiliar view that notes effects of the rise of global capitalism and how it ensures the prosperity of the powerful and wealthy at the expense of the poor. Essentially, in order for someone to be rich, many other people have to be poor. This and much more is at the heart of Marxist theory of international relations.
Next are the essential elements of Marxist theories of world politics. Karl Marx once said that history had taught the working class to do the master, for themselves a mystery of international politics. Most of his writing is theoretical. He elaborated on other aspects than including international relations within them. Due to this, his writing was left mainly contingent and unfinished.
Throughout his life, Marx was open to new ideologies, and his theory was dynamic over time. Due to this, theorists interpreted and expanded upon the theory of Marx in their own way. But they all believed that organizing the social world in subcategories and counterintuitive as different branches of social sciences must be transcended in order to understand social world and more specifically, international relations.
In the Marxist theory, processes of historical change are ultimately a reflection of the economic development of society, because economic development is considered the motor of history. With the economy, the theory identifies and stresses the tension between the means of production and relations of productions that together form society's economic base.
With the maintenance of control in the economy, Marx turns to legal, political, and cultural institutions and the practices of giving society. He did this because the economy and social world have a holistic relationship. Changes in the economy led to changes in the political structures and relations.
Class is a key aspect in Marxist analysis. Marx was primarily interested in how to overthrow capitalism and replace it with communism. The real question is, since many people differ in their own analysis and interpretation, so whether these theorists will ever agree is anybody's guess.
Transitioning into Marx internationalized, from imperialism towards system theory. Furthermore, Marx wrote Das Kapital, which is his key work. Marx's key work, Das Kapital, focused on the development of and characteristics of 19th century British capitalism. The Russian political theorist Lenin did accept Marx's basic theses, but he later argued with the character of capitalism when Marx published the first volume of Das Kapital in 1876.
According to Marx, rule under capitalism would no longer be an automatic harmony of interests within all classes of society. The bourgeoisie can use the profits derived from exploiting the periphery to improve their own proletariat. The periphery are the less developed countries, which are characterized by unstable governments, poor health, and poor education systems. Due to hearing this, capitalists can pacify and convince the proletariat to not revolt by further exploitation of the periphery.
According to world system theorists, the three zones of the world economy are linked together in exploitative relation in which wealth is drained away from the periphery in the core. The semi-periphery plays an important economic and political role in the modern world system. The three zones are the core, periphery, and semi-periphery. The core is democratic governments and have many good characteristics, like high wages. Semi-periphery is authoritarian governments with low wages. And finally, periphery is non-democratic governments. They have below subsistence wages and no welfare services, unlike the others.
As a consequence, the relative position of the zones have become ever more deeply entrenched. The rich get richer while the poor get poorer. Together, the core, periphery, and semi-periphery make up the geographic dimension of the world economy. The three, however, provide static portrayal of the world system. In this sense, capitalist world system is no different than any other system that has preceded it. Our next topic is Gramscianism. Italian Marxist Antonio Gramsci's work has become influential in the study of international political economy. His answer revolves on this use of the concept of hegemony, which is his understanding of which reflected his broader conceptualization of power. For those who don't know, hegemony is dominance of one country or social group over the other.
Gramsci's reading is created and recreated by the hegemony of the ruling class in society. It is this hegemony that allows moral, political, and cultural values of the dominant group to become widely dispersed throughout society and be accepted by subordinate groups and classes as their own.
An example of his analysis is the economic crisis of 2008. The core conclusion of Marx's analysis of capitalism was that it would be subject to recurrent crises, especially in the economic aspect of governments and countries in general. An example of Marx's analysis of the world economic crisis of 2008. One of its greatest aspects was the failure of banking systems. Some governments imposed austerity programs, cutbacks in services such as welfare, education, health, pensions, and public sector employment. As a result of this economic crisis, a group of protesters, under the name of Occupy, sought to create an opposition movement against capitalism since they believed it was the reason for the crisis occurring. Despite the spread of activism of Occupy, they failed to provide an alternative to capitalism and genuine challenge to the prevailing global economic order.
Our next topic is world order. Canadian scholar Robert W. Cox developed a Gramscian approach that involves both a critique prevailing theories of international relations and international political economy, and the development of an alternative framework of analysis for world politics.
The key implication of this, obviously, is that there can be no simple separation between facts and values. He subjects realism, and in particular, its contemporary variant neorealism. According to Cox, these theories serve the interests of those who prosper under prevailing order. The purpose of these theories, whether consciously or not, is to enforce and legitimate the status quo. Cox contrasts problem-solving theory with the critical theory.
Our final topic for today's video is New Marxism and Critical Theorists. Critical theory has its roots in the work of the Frankfurt School. Critical theorists have tended to focus their attention on culture, bureaucracy, the social basis and nature of authoritarianism, and the structure of family, and on exploring such concepts as a reason for rationality.
Jürgen Habermas is the most influential contemporary advocate of critical theory. He advocates radical democracy as a means of unlocking the emancipatory potential inherent in the real communication. Andrew Link later developed critical theory themes to argue in favor of the expansion of the moral boundaries of the political community, and has pointed to the European Union as an example of post-Westphalian institution of governance.
New Marxism refers to the works of writers who are influenced and derive their works from Marx's writings and ideals. They represent a shift and departure from Marxist trends. They also prefer to be referred to as historical materialists.
An example of New Marxism is Justin Rosenberg's work on uneven and combined development, which draws on Trotsky's examination of the development of Russia in the political economy. Uneven and combined development suggests that within all countries following the same path of economic development, each follows an individual and different path of economic development. The uneven and combined development approach has been used and utilized to analyze the development of many countries in the 20th century.
Oh shit, no. Bro.
Crises, classes, crises.
We can't have that. And that's the end of the video, guys. I hope you guys like it. Please like, subscribe, hit the bell button to turn on post notification. It doesn't hurt to comment down below. Hit this link to support Miss O's class. And that should be it. Thank you. That was good. That was good, Serge.